Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 544 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous, Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, we made it to St. Patrick's Day today, but I need all the students who are listening to be very careful today. Just recently, 16 students were hospitalized after a porch roof collapsed at a St. Patrick's Day party at the University of Pittsburgh. There was probably 30 people on the roof of this house that were celebrating when the whole roof collapsed, and it was all caught on video. So you can go and watch it online. So as college students, let me make this very clear. You should never be on the roof of a house unless you are a licensed roofer, okay? That is the only person that should be up on the roof. So many students are falling off the roof in fraternity and sorority life, causing all kinds of unnecessary harm or injuries, and sometimes those injuries can be life threatening. So I wish you all a very happy St. Patrick's Day, but please, just please, I beg of you, please stay off the roof of your house. That's the only thing I ask. Very basic stuff. All right, so our next guest on St. Patrick's Day is none other than Quinn Moran. She is passionate about leadership and change management to help individuals and organizations realize their potential. She is very enthusiastic, she is very driven, and she is a devoted team player. She is currently a fraternal recruitment and growth consultant working with hundreds of undergraduate fraternity men in different NIC fraternities to help plan, direct, and execute strategic plans directly related to organizational growth. She was most recently honored as IFC Chapter Advisor of the Year with Iowa State Triangle Fraternity. I will tell you that Quinn graduated with a master's degree in business administration from Missouri State University in the fall of 2021. She also holds a bachelor's degree in marketing from Iowa State University with minors in Spanish and management in the spring of 2018. She is also a proud member of Alpha Delta Pi. Boom, boom. Welcome to the show, Quinn.
Thank you. Thank you. Exciting. Excited to be here. I did just text some of my students. I said, look up Pittsburgh roof, as a lot of them are celebrating St. Patrick's Day, and it's a good reminder. No one needs to be on a roof, but for whatever reason, everybody wants to be part of it. So we're spreading the word to stay safe this St. Patrick's Day, which is
That's
great.
right. I don't want to hear about any more students getting hurt or going to the hospital. I just want students to have fun, but also be safe. That
Yes.
is really, really critical. So hopefully
Yes.
we're doing a good deed today, just letting people know to go and watch that video. And that's a reminder why no students should be up on the roof. Unless, of course, you have some roofer's license. If you have a license to be up there, then by all means do what you got
Yeah.
to do to fix the roof. But most students, like 99.9% of the students, should never be up there.
No.
So there you go. But anyway, so happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
I know that you decided on Iowa State for your undergraduate experience, and I know that you are super passionate about Iowa State. So I need to know, you could have gone to a whole bunch of different schools. Why did you choose Iowa State?
Yeah, I think I love Iowa State. We just got a really good seed for March Madness, so I'm excited about that. They're playing in Milwaukee this weekend. So God willing, if they make it past the first round, we might take a road trip up to see them play. But I grew up in Eastern Iowa, probably about 25 minutes from the University of Iowa. So I grew up a Hawkeye. I went to all the football games. Both my parents went to Iowa. All my cousins, my aunt and uncles, my brother, everybody went to Iowa. And so that was kind of something of like, oh, like, won't she go to Iowa too? But I really wanted to stay in state for school. I was looking for, new opportunities, and I really didn't kind of say no to anything. So I decided to visit all three state schools in Iowa, which was the University of Northern Iowa, University of Iowa, and Iowa State. I'd never been to Ames, Iowa, other than for a music contest in eighth grade and ninth grade. So I'd been on campus like once or twice, but I really wasn't thinking about college at that point. But my dad said, okay, we'll go visit all the schools. And so he ended up taking me to Iowa State and we did the campus tour. I walked around. It felt like a college campus to me. Iowa felt more of like a city. And maybe that's because I grew up around there and would go to restaurants and things like that. But Iowa State felt like a campus. It was contained. It was huge. It was 35,000 people compared to my, 200 person graduating class. That was a big step. I also had learned a little bit about Greek life. I didn't know that I wanted to do that, but it was an option. And so I attended Greek Visit Day, and it really just solidified that that was the place I was supposed to be. So I am the lone Cyclone. I do have on Cyhawk, which is the biggest. We don't have professional sporting events in Iowa or no teams. So Cyhawk every early September. It's normally the first weekend in September. It's a big game. My parents and my brother cheer for the Hawks, and me and the two dogs cheer for the Cyclones. And I did meet my husband at Iowa State, so we are a Cyclone household. It's the best decision I ever made.
It definitely worked out for you. So that's
It
all.
did.
If I was a betting man, I would have said you would have been a Hawkeye. So,
That's what everybody thought. So, and it would have been really nice. And my brother went to the University of Iowa. He had a great experience. He was a Delta Tau Delta there and on the Interfraternity Council and had a wonderful time. But I got to kind of do my own thing, which was exciting. And I was proud of myself because at that time, that was really out of my comfort zone. So, taking that step was big for my personal development too.
for sure, for sure. Well, shout out to the Delts at the University of Iowa, but you
I agree.
joined Alpha Delta Pi at
I did.
Iowa State, the first, the finest, and forever.
Yes.
What was special about AD Pi that made you want to join them over other organizations on campus?
So there are a lot of Panhellenic chapters at Iowa State, which is great. It's a really healthy community. I went in with no expectations. I didn't know really anything about the chapters. At that time, Facebook was very popular, so I had browsed their Facebook pages, but beyond that, I knew nothing. And I had a really positive experience, and it was the final round, preference round. And I was walking on my out of my dorm, which was on the other side of campus, and my roommate said, "Oh, you should bring like some different shoes because like you're not gonna want to walk in your wedges all the way there and back." And I was like, oh, you're so smart. So I was already late. That's just a quintessential part of me. I'm always gonna be, I gotta set myself 5 minutes ahead. But I was like, oh, I gotta go. So I grabbed my shower shoes because they were right next to the door. So I went to my first chapter, it was a really good experience. Put on my shower shoes, walked to my next chapter, which was Alpha Delta Pi, and I was really excited, a little bit nervous. And 80 Pi at Iowa State has a lot of stairs. Like there are at least 5 flights of stairs leading up to the house. And when you get up to the top, there's a big step, and they say the president would stand there and say, "Watch your step," because people would trip. And I ended up being the person to say, "Watch your step," a couple years down the line. But she said, "Watch your step." And I looked down at my feet and I was still wearing my shower shoes. And I was absolutely mortified. I was like, I'm not getting a bed. This is the end of it. I'm not going to be an 80 pie. And it showed on my face. And I sat down at the table and the person recruiting me said, "Oh, are you okay? Like everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just like really embarrassed because like I'm wearing my shower shoes." And she was like, "Well, would you feel better if you took them off?" I was like, "Well, I can't really like take off my shoes in your dining room." She's like, "Yeah, you can." And she puts her feet up on the table and she unhooks her heels and she takes her shoes off. And she said, "See, now I'm not wearing my shoes in the dining room, so you don't have to either." And it was in that moment that it just solidified my decision that I was supposed to be there, that I was going to be able to be surrounded by women who would meet me where I was, and didn't make me feel uncomfortable or bad for mistakes that I made along the way. And it was that culture of support. So I will never forget that. I will never forget, the feeling that I had when they just made me feel so comfortable. I went on to, lead within the chapter. And other than marrying my husband, saying yes to 80 Pie is the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Wow, what a powerful story. And thank goodness that that sister had the presence of mind to say, you know what? I'm taking my shoes off too.
Yes,
Um,
she did a great job, and
ah,
I'll remember her name until, I'll remember her for the rest of my life, as well as somebody who just said yes in the moment to, meeting me where I was, which I so appreciate.
oh, that's so key. I love that story. So incredible. And you were obviously very involved as a student at Iowa State. You were VP of Philanthropy and Community Service there. I'm wondering, in your opinion, what is the key to a successful philanthropy or a successful community service event?
Yeah, I did some time on the panel and at council in that role, and I think one thing that I took away was philanthropy and community service are two different things, but they are kind of at their best when they're somewhat intertwined, and making sure that the why behind what we're doing is apparent. So if we're having a philanthropy event, supporting a certain charity, let's say St. Jude, that we have, you know, something on the table that talks about what your money could support, or, you know, if you could have a guest speaker come and be at the event and table and share more about the organization. Anything that you can do to tie what you're fundraising for, or the people that you are serving with your time back to the cause, and kind of link all of those things together. And I think some of the strongest chapters were ones who had very strong local partnerships or national partnerships that they brought to a local level. So, you know, St. Jude is such a large organization, but there are hospitals throughout the, you know, United States in smaller areas that work with the, you know, the National St. Jude organization, groups like Up Till Dawn, things like Dance Marathon, Ronald McDonald House is an Alpha Delta Pi thing. So having a family who stayed there, or a sister who stayed there, or a representative from the local house come to your philanthropy event, or meeting with people when you're volunteering, who have a direct impact on the organization. That I think just makes the dollars and the time spent go so much farther because you do have that personal connection.
Excellent advice. Really, really good stuff. Now, not everybody gets a chance to work for the national headquarters, but you
Yes,
also worked as a leadership consultant for AD Pi.
you
So I'm
did.
sure a lot of sorority members, fraternity members are out there thinking right now, what is that experience like working for your headquarters? And what did you learn by working with so many different chapters around the country?
Yeah, I will say, when I was doing the job, my dad was asked by the national organization to write about the parent's perspective of a child working for their national organization as a consultant or doing that. And there was something that he said when he wrote that blog post for AD Pi that really stuck with me was the role gave me more experience in 1 year than I could have gotten in any other first time job. I was on the ground, I was on my own. I had to make decisions that not only impacted me, but impacted a group of chapter members and a national organization. And sometimes you got a friend on the ground where you were a partner, but most of the time I was on my own. I think I took 78 flights that year, visited 16 chapters across the country, but it made me feel very confident in my ability to make a decision and see it through. And while there's so many great opportunities to kind of do that in a first time job, to be kind of autonomous and have to say, all right, we're making this decision, and not always having things go according to plan, but being able to pivot in real time and think about, okay, if X, then Y, and if not Y, then Z, and then back to A, and then B, and, you know, kind of work through all of the potential outcomes. I met so many outstanding women. I also recognized that AD Pi is different on every single campus, and the identity that that chapter holds is unique to them. And sharing my chapter experience could be relevant, but not always. And so I think I tempered myself of saying, well, in my chapter, that's great, but we're not at Iowa State University with 180 women. We are at Louisiana State University. We are at Penn State University. And the things that we did at my chapter might not work here. So just kind of being able to make decisions and see them through and learn different perspectives. It was an incredible experience. And anybody who's considering it, I would say put yourself out there, interview. You might as well see what could happen because it's going to give you experiences. And I got to see the country in places I never thought I would go. So it was a great opportunity for me and kind of kickstarted my career moving forward as well.
Yeah, you're so right. Every chapter has its own unique culture, and every campus is different in terms of their traditions and their ideas. So it is really interesting to see how that changes throughout the country and how different that could look, let's say, on the West Coast versus the East
Yes.
Coast. Very, very different.
Very
But
different.
I'm so glad that you had that experience, and it certainly kind of, frames up the rest of your career because now you're
Yes.
really an expert in IFC fraternity recruitment. And for the fraternity chapters that are struggling right now with recruitment, from your perspective, what should they be working on now? So here we are in March in order to set up a really big fall recruitment.
Yeah, I still have a lot to learn. I'm by no means an expert, but been doing this for about 5 years now. And one thing that I've seen that I think is consistent across the board, any campus, any university, is that recruitment has to be a 365 mentality. And there are constraints that come with that, right? Like our universities might say, hey, you can't talk to freshmen from this window to this window, or hey, we're actually a deferred recruitment, so you're not taking any incoming freshmen, new members until the spring semester. And I'm not saying break those rules. Please don't. Please don't break those rules. But recruitment has to be a mindset of we are always looking for new members and we are always promoting ourselves in a way that make people stop and say, wow, I'd love to be a part of that organization. And so when we're thinking about fall recruitment, that doesn't start in August, that doesn't start the second week of September, that starts now. So thinking about what are our key dates, what are ways that we can meet new students. A lot of universities have things like, meet the Greeks or meet fraternity sorority life, and we need to be at those places. But some of our best members might not be considering fraternity. They might not even know what a fraternity is. And so meeting people where they are is really important. So looking at things like, is there an involvement fair? Is there a student organization fair? Are there new student activities that you can be involved in? Making sure that we're promoting ourselves not just as we are a fraternity, but we are a part of this campus and this community. And that makes us more visible to students. So if we think we can start planning our fall recruitment in August, I think we're a little bit behind. So we need to start thinking about where are the places we need to be seen and who are the people we need to be connecting with now so that in 6 months, in 5 months, we're ready to hit the ground running and already kind of have that vision of who we are and what we bring to the table.
You're so right. I had an IFC fraternity man last week call me up and he's like, so what are the big events that I should be planning for the fall in order to recruit a ton of guys? And I'm like, I'm like, first of all, you didn't join because of the big event. Let's just
Right,
start
right.
there, right? And then I said, and now the work starts right now. Your whole chapter should just be meeting with other non-affiliated students on campus right now and just doing everyday normal things. Take them out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, go to the gym, play video games, all the stuff you're going to do anyway. Just do it with non-affiliated students and start now. Don't wait until August or September because then it's already too late.
And
Forget
some of
it.
our best members might not be incoming freshmen. They
Mhm.
might be a transfer student who's new to the university. They might be a junior who said, the first 2 years, I was just getting my foot in the door, getting settled. Now I'd like to be a part of something more. So I challenge the students to look at not only those incoming students, obviously they're going to be the majority, right? Like they are going to be the biggest pocket of new people, but there's value on all campuses. I just helped with an expansion at a school. And it was the largest expansion the fraternities had in like 20 years. And two of the members who actually joined were seniors. And they said, look, we're only going to be around for a year, but we want to help create the legacy in the year we have left. And we want to be really engaged alumni. So I just think it's important to recognize that, yes, those freshmen are so important to us, but there's other groups of people on campus who would bring so much value to our membership as well.
Totally. And I know so many alumni that actually had much bigger careers in their fraternity as alumni than they really did as an undergraduate. Maybe they only were an undergraduate for a year or even 6 months as
Right.
an undergraduate, or even they're initiated as alumni members. Yeah, that
Yep.
happens too. And so there are great members that really, when you think about their fraternity or sorority experience, a lot of that is designed around their alumni years.
Yep.
So really good stuff. And we can talk about recruitment until the cows come home, but I think we don't talk enough about retaining our existing members so that way they don't leave out the back door faster than we can pull them in the front door. So I'm
Yep.
wondering, what's your suggestion in terms of engagement of all of our existing members and retaining all of our members all the way through senior year? Because I have a bunch of chapters right now telling me that their members are ghosting them senior year.
Yep. I think it has to start with what we're selling when we are recruiting them. I think the biggest hurdle to fraternity is misaligned expectations. And those three areas that I see most of the time where there's misalignment is the financial aspect of fraternity, any commitments like housing, how many years you have to live in the house, or any of those, dorm university, like on the floors if you have to live there. And the third thing would be alignment with stakeholders. So that could be parents, that could be guardians, whoever are important people in their life. So I think it starts there. We have to make sure that we're super clear on those expectations because if we're selling something that we're not following through on, people aren't going to want to stay. And the second half of that is engaging the people we have. And I think one thing that we don't do enough is ask. Sit down with each class each year and say, hey, you're a junior this year. This is your third year in the chapter for some of you. Some of you have only been here, your third year at this university. What are the important things to you this year? Is it career aspects? Is it networking? Is it being a mentor to the younger men. So first asking them what's important to them, and then second, asking them, are there any things that are really big barriers for you, right? Like a lot of classes get really tough junior year. Hey, classes are going to be harder, so I might not be around as much. And by asking what's important and what barriers there are, we can create opportunities that engage them. As juniors, if they're wanting to talk about, career opportunities, let's bring in an alumni panel. Let's make sure that we have a career fair prep workshop. Let's make sure we're posting about them on LinkedIn when they're looking for jobs. Whatever is important to them. The sophomores, that might be mentorship. They really want to take on these new guys and help them get, assimilated into the chapters. So let's host a lot of brotherhood events. Let's host opportunities to, help mentor them, walk them around to their classes before the first day of school starts, whatever that might look like. I don't think we ask enough. I think if we ask the question, sometimes we might not like the answer, right? But we
Mhm.
might as well know what is ahead of us so that we can make informed choices that are strategic to those programming areas that are relevant to our brothers.
You are so right. And I mean, we can do like surveys. They could even be anonymous on Google Forms,
Right.
and it would take us 2 minutes to create that form. So it's super easy to do that with all the tools that are out there right now. But you're so right. We don't ask our members, what do you think? I mean, what do you think about our meetings? Are they too long? Are they too short? What do
Right.
you think about the space that we're having our meetings in? Is it formal enough? Is it not formal at all? Are you sitting on the couch and it's still dirty from the party that we had last night?
Right.
Just ask your members how you're doing, and they will be glad. Trust me, they will be glad to tell you and give you that
Yes.
feedback so that way you can adjust and correct. Don't wait until a senior is ghosting you because you never asked him what he needs in order to stay engaged. You got to ask.
And it
Got to
could be
ask your
something
members.
so small. I had a chapter that sent out a survey and someone put their name on it and like owned it.
Mhm.
And they were like, what do you like and not like about chapter meetings? And the person said the font on the slides is too small and I can't read it and it frustrates me. And I was like, then just increase the font, like make it bigger for him. And you would have thought the man's life changed. He's like, I can read the slides. It's so great, and it was just that easy. I was
Yeah.
like, if that is what his complaint is, that he can't read the slides because the font is too small, that is such an easy fix. And we asked the question and we got the answer. So it might seem silly, right? Like the font size being too small might not seem like a big deal to someone, but it was to him and it impacts his membership experience. And we just made a happier member. So.
Perfect example. Really good stuff. And congratulations, of course, on your award last week as the
Thank
IFC
you.
Chapter Advisor of the
Thank
Year
you.
with Iowa State Triangle. Now, I know that deep in my heart that you think the world of this particular chapter.
I
So,
do.
what makes this chapter of Triangle at Iowa State so special to you?
Yeah, I've been working with them for 5 years now, so they are very special to me. I've seen, 5 to 6. I think I might be on my seventh president. No, I think I'm on my sixth president now. I've seen presidents come through. I've seen members come through. I've seen them, kind of grow up, get married, have children, all kinds of things. And I feel like I've gotten to see them from the time they join Triangle to the time they graduate and what they do in the real world. I think what's really special about this group of men is that they are kind of a niche fraternity in the sense of Triangle. You have to be a STEM major to be a part of the organization. And some groups could say that's limiting, right? When you're looking at the population of men who come through IFC, I would say that their ability is to recruit about 60% of the men who come through. 60%, and that's at a big school like Iowa State where STEM programs are pretty apparent. 60 to 65% are eligible. And some groups could say, hey, that really limits us because we have 40% of the population we can't even go after. But this group has said, this is what makes us unique. This is what makes us stand out. And we can provide a really awesome social fraternity experience while also sharing that same major, that same ideal career path, sometimes similar interests, things like that. So I think they really own the fact of, this is our brand and this is who we are. And rather than making it a limiting factor for them, they, use it to propel them. Their new member class this fall got a 3.55 GPA for their first semester at Iowa State, which is insane. I said
Insane.
to the sophomores who recruited them, I said, I don't always know if you all are the brightest bulbs, but you recruited some really smart people. And they said, that's all you can ask, right? We did our job. I said, you did. You recruited such a stellar group. So they're really special just to see how far they've come. I was with them when we started. They're about a 20-man chapter. Now they're an 80 to 90 man chapter. So seeing them grow over the past 5 years has just been such a joy. And they surprised me by nominating me for that award, and I did not expect it. And they tricked me to come see, be at the awards, and I was there to receive it, which was really special. So I appreciate, all the men that have come through the chapter, and I'm excited for, one of the freshmen was like, "You're 10 years older than me." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I still feel like you understand like what I'm talking about." I said, "That's good. That means I still got it." So they keep me young and exciting is what I tell them.
For sure, for sure. I love how they own that brand of just STEM majors. And you know what? Listen, Triangle's doing some amazing things. Maybe it coincides with the popularity of the Big Bang Theory and other shows in pop culture that really just resonate with STEM majors and their popularity. And so good things I see here with Triangle, and I love that they own it. That's just amazing to see. Talk to us a little bit about content creation for fraternities. So, whether we're talking about digital media, such as social media, or we're talking about print media, such as flyers around campus, what is working for you and the fraternities that you're working with right now?
I would say a couple of things. One is that fraternity men do not post as well as sorority women.
Mhm.
And that is solely from a frequency standpoint. The women post more than the men. And my thought is when you're selling an experience, when you're telling someone, "Hey, come be a part of my group," the first place that these students are going to look is your Instagram. It's just the way things run now. And if you're not highlighting all the fun things you're doing, we're missing an opportunity to sell them on what the organization could provide. So, highlighting things like we had a service event, we had a philanthropy event, we had a social with the sorority, we had a formal. Those are all things that need to be on your feed because those are all selling points as to what students are looking for. The second thing is that if someone doesn't follow you, they're not going to necessarily see your content. They might see it on their Explore page, but expecting to post a rush graphic or a recruitment information session on your Instagram and have people show up on your doorstep, it's not realistic. I always use the analogy of, would you show up for a date that no one asked you on? No. You have to be invited, you have to be asked. And sometimes we do have those students who, see it on Instagram and show up at the door uninvited, and, that takes a lot of guts. So I always encourage my students, you need to ask for the order. So print marketing, right? Putting things in residence halls or in university, buildings or coffee shops. That's great. Posting on your Instagram, so important. But none of those can replace a personal one-on-one invite. And if you're not willing to take the time to reach out and invite someone one-on-one, it is a lot of work. It's more
Mhm.
work than posting on Instagram or, posting a flyer somewhere. And we need to do those things, but we also need to make sure that we're doing that personal reach out. You can even DM them the post from the Instagram and say, "Hey, I just wanted you to know that this event's happening and I'd love to see you there." That's enough. But, to expect someone to show up to an event that they weren't invited to is a bold statement.
Yeah. I love that expression of you showing up to a date that you weren't invited on.
Right.
It's
Like
so
if no
true.
one invites you on the date, you don't know you're wanted there. You don't know they're
Right.
interested in getting to know you.
Right.
And one of my men, I said that to him and he goes, "Well, I don't get asked on dates." And I said, "Well, this is a great time to practice asking people on dates because it's a very low stakes environment. If they say no, if you ask a dude on a dude date, like you're good. You
You're
you
good.
might as well practice now before it's showtime." So, the other thing I say is, you got to kind of make them feel like, you see them. And I really like Chick-fil-A. I think they have very good customer service. So, they say my pleasure. They always give you all the sauces you want. And so my analogy is like, you got to Chick-fil-A the hell out of them. You got to make them feel like they are number one in your book. And if we can bring them into the fold, then we can make a decision on if the membership aspect is good mutually. Not saying
Mhm.
that every person we invite is going to be a good fit, but if we don't invite them, we'll never know.
You got to Chick-fil-A them. You got some really funny expressions. I'm
I
just gonna
really,
throw that out there. But I
there's,
know what you're talking about. Like
yeah,
it totally works and it totally fits. So I love it. Keep doing what you're doing because it makes total sense to me. So good.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, you also collaborate and communicate with campus professionals, alumni boards, headquarters staff, and all kinds of key stakeholders on a daily basis. So I'm wondering, how do you manage all of that successfully? And what's your advice to undergraduates who are tasked with doing the same thing, communicating with all of these different key stakeholders?
Yeah, I think one thing that I've seen in my career so far is it's better to over communicate than to under communicate, in the sense of I would rather know something's coming down the pipeline rather than hear about it from, someone else. I'd rather always have my members tell me, "Hey, this happened. It wasn't a great experience and, we need to work on this." Or, "Hey, this happened. It was an awesome event. I think we did really well. And I think we're going to have more, recruitment numbers going into this semester than we have in the past." So my best practice is to always collaborate, because if our, HQ professionals or our university professionals don't know information, they can't help us. So
Mhm.
my thing is transparency is key. Again, even if the message is not necessarily the most positive message or not the message you want to be delivering, I'd always rather know. I'd always rather know, have all the cards on the table, because then we can collaborate together and say, okay, this didn't go well. What can we do to fix it in the future? And who else do we need to bring in to help us? So I'm really lucky to have so many great HQ partners. And again, even with those university personnel, University of Idaho, I absolutely adore the director and assistant director there. And we talk like once a quarter just to catch up, just to tell me what's going on the campus, what things are like, what they're planning for in the future. And that's really helpful, because if I'm in a bind, I can give them a call and say, "Hey, I don't know what to do. Can you help me?" And they're like, "Yeah, we actually have, we could do this, this, or this. Like, what do you think is best?"
Mhm. Great stuff. And you're absolutely right. I love the over communication piece. I was over at the Greek advisor's office at least once a week as chapter president just to say hi. I had nothing to say, literally nothing to say, but I was just going over there to say, hey, just wanted to say hi. Maybe I'd bring a cup of coffee or some donuts or whatever I had.
Yep.
I would just go over there. And you know what? Those relationships paid dividends because trust me, problems are going to come up. And I'll be the first person to say we had our share of problems. But when they did come up, the fact that I had a relationship with the Greek advisor and I was in his office every week, he could easily say, I got this. I know Mike, and we're going to resolve this. But if
Yep.
your Greek advisor is meeting you for the first time when there's a problem in your chapter, this
Too
is
late.
not going to go well. Okay.
No. And
This,
even some of those office personnel, the person who
Mhm.
runs the office at Iowa State, her name is Karina. She has been there, I don't even know how long she's been there, but she knows everything and everyone about the university.
Mhm.
And my thing is, like, when I didn't know an answer when I was an undergraduate there, and now as an advisor on that campus, I'm like, you know what, Karina will know, so we'll just send her a little email. And she always knows. She always knows what's going on, and she always knows where to direct us. So, like you said, if you're meeting them for the first time when there's a problem or you need assistance, you haven't cultivated that relationship enough to make it valuable for both parties. So it's just important to introduce yourself early and often.
Absolutely agree with that. And if you're meeting them for the first time when there's a problem, bless your heart. You got some
Yes.
real major problems
Yes.
ahead. Good luck to you. So, this has been amazing. I loved chatting with you and sharing all this great information with our undergraduate students. Now, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. And I know that you're in the Urbana-Champaign area where there
Yes.
is a very big college campus nearby. So I'm wondering where should I be going for a great meal the next time I'm in town?
Yes. You told me you were going to ask me this, and so I really,
Mhm.
I really thought about it. So, in the area, you need to go to Black Dog Barbecue. It is so good, but the thing that really I think is like the standout, my husband loves the brisket, but they do like a smoked salmon there.
Oh,
And I had never been to a barbecue restaurant that offered salmon as an entree. And it's kind of like a pulled pork-esque style salmon. It is so good. So that is where I would recommend going. Even if you're not a barbecue person, they have a lot of different options. The mac and cheese is so good, but that's my pick in the area. And when I'm, really am like feeling, oh, like I need to pick me up, I go and get the salmon there, and it's really good.
Quinn, you are very brave. Let me tell you, you're talking to a guy from Nashville and you're
I
asking
know it's
him
a bold
to go
statement,
get
but
barbecue. This is very bold
it's
to
a
go
bold
to
statement, but
Illinois and get
it,
barbecue.
but
And
do
oh,
you
by the
get
way, you want to try the salmon.
salmon? Do you get salmon at your barbecue places in Nashville?
No, no,
See?
you
So you're
can't.
good. It's gonna be different. It's so good. So we have a little pint glass from there in our kitchen, and we love going there. That was where one of our first dates was, when my husband and I started dating. So it's a great spot, and just just have a little faith in the salmon. They also have a lot of sauce options. So if you're interested in different, they got a range of barbecue sauces that you can kind of mix in there and all good things.
I
So
trust you completely, but when you and your husband are in Nashville, I'm going to take you to a Nashville barbecue restaurant, and you're going to tell me the difference between these two spots, all right?
it will probably be a little different. I'm planning my sister-in-law's bachelorette party, and I think it's going to be in Nashville. So
There you go.
I'll have to get your recommendations for all things in the area, especially for a group of women in their 20s.
Oh yeah, I will definitely hook it up and I will let you know all of the dance spots, the
Perfect.
nightlife, the rooftop restaurants, the food, the whole thing. I will make sure
Rooftop
that you guys have a
restaurants,
great time.
but no roof. Don't get on the roof. We
Right.
learned
No,
that.
no standing on any home roofs, but there are actual buildings in downtown Nashville that have just stunning, stunning views of the entire, scene there in
That's where we're
Nashville,
gonna be.
which is really good. Drinks, food, the whole thing, and it's on. So, fantastic. All right. Really good stuff. If our listeners, if they want to connect with you for consulting opportunities or just help with their fraternity, where should they go to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me in a couple of different ways. I am on LinkedIn as Quinn, Quinn, Moran, Moran. So if you look me up on LinkedIn, can send me a message there. That's where I've met some really awesome partners that I work with now. I also have an email address. It's Q Moran, so my first initial, my last name, consulting at gmail.com. So you can reach out to me either place. I'm also on Instagram. If you want to send me a DM there, it's Quinn Moran Chinsky on there, but I will probably respond a little bit faster on my email or my LinkedIn. But those are both great places to connect. And even if you want to just talk about, like, hey, I'm looking for someone to bounce some ideas off of, or I'm looking for a best practice, happy to do that as well. Sometimes we don't need long-term, big picture support. We just need someone to validate our feelings and say, yes, this is a great thing that you should pursue. Or hey, let's redirect a little bit.
Fantastic. I connected with Quinn on LinkedIn, so you should too. She spells her name QuinnMoran. Go and look her up on LinkedIn and then send her a message. Let her know what things you need for your fraternity. So, Quinn, what can I say? I think you're amazing, and I am so grateful that you are helping to move fraternity and sorority forward. So, thank you for everything that you do. We greatly appreciate it.
And thanks for all the great content and resources and support coming out of Greek University. I actually did not follow the Instagram until recently, so I have seen your TikToks before though. So I was already up to speed there, but excited to be able to continue to connect with the Greek University community and see what we can do together.
That sounds good to me. I appreciate that. Thank you. You must be the one that's following us on TikTok. So I really appreciate that.
I love TikTok. I was very sad when it went down, but it was back 12 hours later, we were back up and going. So that's where I consume my news, for better or worse.
For better or for worse. Absolutely. All right. Well, Quinn, thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Quinn, I want you to like it on social media and I want you to share it with other students that need to hear her words. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thank you and bye for now.